everyone, I'm Stefan.
Hi, I'm Julia.
So we are now 4 months into moving to the 10-acre property. It's fun, we're having a blast. Now, we are proud to say that we've actually stepped up our game and we invested in a couple systems to help make this property a little more off-grid. We'll get into what that actually means and how we did it. So the house we bought here in the country relies 100% on electricity. We have an electric furnace because it gets devastatingly cold here, and we had one of our toughest winters ever on our first season spent here on the farm. All the essentials of life, your water, of course, the outlets to power whatever it is that you need, charge your phone, watch TV. And all this electricity is fed to us from the city through power lines. It's what they call the grid. You're part of the whole system, okay? Now, when you live here in the country, we actually have a lot more power outages. So there's a lot of reasons for that. We're more exposed to the elements. The wires, most times, they're not underground, they're overground, making them vulnerable to falling trees and stuff, which there's a lot of here. Not just that, the population density is much smaller here. So we're actually low prioritized for construction crews or repair crews from the hydro systems to come and actually fix them. Here, the first time we had a power outage, it went for 3 days. And of course, it's during the coldest, most awful times where the elements are the hardest on you. And we just wanted to ensure that there's a way that we can independently get the necessity of their life. So we invested in a system that would temporarily keep us independent from said grid. Source of power coming from the grid, feeding it to my distributor, your electric panel. Now, what we had installed here was a secondary panel, a pony panel, a 30 amp capability one where I take the essentials, each one that I need. Water pump. Oh, the lights upstairs would be nice. How about those outlets around the TV and Wi-Fi? Sure. And you put a small amount of those going to a secondary panel, which you can switch it from grid to an alternative power source, which is coming from the outside. And here in this one, we put our water pump, our freezers, our fridges, and the lights actually downstairs in this room, going up to the base, the top, and of course, that entertainment room. In this case, the alternative power source we'll get into our generator, which we wheel out outside and plug into an inlet. Okay, so we showed you the electrical components downstairs. So here's the grid coming from the wires going to that panel. Of course, when you make that switch on the generator panel to the small one, Pony Pack, it gets its power from this inlet with a 240 volt plug. We just need to find now a source of power to feed this that is not from the city's electricity. Now, the last step, of course, was this power source. In this case, we went with a gas-powered generator. 10,000 watts, it's got the juice and the power to do the essentials. Most important is the water pump in there, because when we lose power, we lose water. Water is essential. Now, there's a lot of options we had. We actually looked for the longest time into the cool electric battery-powered generators that could actually recharge using the power of the sun with solar panels. The only problem is the systems here, like say the water pump, takes 240 volts. It actually requires 30 amps, and none of those systems that we looked into could support that for long periods of time. I needed something that was a little more reliable quickly. We are going to keep looking for more eco-friendly systems than this, but for the moment, it is an extremely good backup that was actually very low cost compared to those high-tech electric battery systems. Well, welcome to my mechanic shop. So when we do need to use it, you gotta wheel it out to that plug I just showed you outside. And from there, we use a 2-watt cable, 240 volt plugs. One goes into the machine, and of course, the female end goes into the house inlet that we had installed by the electrician. All right, so we covered how we power some of the essentials in the case of an outage. That is my entire irrigation system and our outlets and some of the lights we want, and our fridges where our food is. Now, we heat the house. I mentioned it gets really cold here through an electric furnace. This is a very high quality furnace. However, it takes an incredible amount of power. That generator we got can't sustain. Now they do sell huge generator systems that are powered either by natural gas or propane, things like that. They're enormous and they power the entire house and they just deliver all that amperage that you need right to where your grid comes in. In this case, we actually wanted something that's even more independent than just relying on electricity. So to heat the house, we actually went all out and made a huge change to the infrastructure of this home. And I present to you the Stuve 1678H, my personal favorite upgrade we've done to this entire homesteading project thus far. So this is their largest model. It's huge. It can heat 2,000 square feet. When we set a fire in this, it radiates throughout the entire house, and it was professionally installed by a licensed installer because these can be tricky. The fuel for this heating system is wood. Here on this property, I particularly am constantly cutting down trees for maintenance, hazardous trees, whatever. And it's just a bit of a nuisance to have all that wood around usually, unless of course you turn it into your source of fuel. So now the residue material from my labor has now become beneficial to me. So all the trees that I'm cutting down so far will be split, will be quartered, and will be cured in the dry for over a year before it now becomes an alternative heat source for us. What's really good about this, it's not a fireplace, wood stoves, so you can see the entire system away from the house. Some of you may have seen a video earlier where we had planned on installing our wood stove in the basement, and this was based on a theory. You probably wanted the basement so all the heat actually rises upwards, but the professionals who came here to make the assessment explained to us our house was just not conducive to a traditional wood stove. This is a much better place. It's actually a lot more pleasing, so everyone can enjoy it. This particular model is very aesthetic, like a fireplace, unlike most dinosaur-aged wood stoves that are very efficient, but don't look nearly as good, and they take away too much space. As you can see, this one fits right in our living room, and we love it right here, right where we need the heat and right where everyone can enjoy it as well. So to go off grid is actually a very large scope, okay? These are just a couple of examples of what we did to escape or independently take source of power and heat away from depending on the system that's put in place. Part of that sort of intertwines with our concept of why we grow so much of our herbs and vegetables, and we want to grow as much food as we want to eat. Again, we are separating ourselves to see if we can independently get our nutrition from an alternative source than commercial goods and grocery stores. All right, well, if you like this video, please like and subscribe, follow us. Our journey is just beginning here on this property, and we can't wait to bring you along. Thank you for watching. Check out this next video. It's a winter tour of our property. We are here on a 10-acre hobby farm. Enjoy.